What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Cards and Castles. I hope you guys have had or are having a Merry Christmas and or Happy Holidays. And today we have a new event card to go over. That's right, a new event card. As of 2 o'clock this morning, this card has been added into the game, and it's sort of an odd one. It's called the COCKATRICE. To be honest, I can't pronounce that for the life of me. But essentially, it's some sort of weird chicken lizard hybrid you can see, or maybe dragon hybrid. You got like the head and legs of a chicken, as well as like the body and wings of a dragon. So that's kind of intriguing. I don't know where in mythology this actually derives from, if at all. I'm not sure, because usually some of the cards are derived off of mythology. You know, we've seen that with Serpent Witch, Pegacorn, but maybe this one has some sort of mythological resemblance. It took me a while to think of that one, but that's okay. So it's not a bad card per se. We're gonna go right into the card. Just gonna show you guys what it is, give my opinions on it, etc. So before we hop into that, though, I would like to inform you as a little PSA. The Christmas bundle is also live as of now. If you guys purchase this for about 3,500 silver, you get 50 card packs and a shiny legendary for about 30% off the normal deal, which I think is pretty nice. It's a nice little way of saying Merry Christmas from Red Team Games. But anyway, let's go right in. Oh, that's my quest. Don't need to see that. Let's go right into the card itself here. I'm going to scroll over to it. Yep, here it is, the COCKATRICE. I hope I pronounced that right. If I don't, then, well, too bad. Anyway, I did manage to get 3 of them. Actually, close to when it released. I was up at 2 o'clock. Moving on. It's a 4/4 3-move neutral unit. It costs 2 gold, and it's got the last will ability of discarding a card at random. So essentially, this is sort of like Hungering Pumpkin, or that's the closest relationship that you can make for this card. You know, it's got the same discarding abilities as Pumpkin, except unlike the Pumpkin, it's not an initiative; it's a last will. So if COCKATRICE dies, you're going to lose a card, which is interesting. It's definitely a way to impact a couple of decks. And the first two that come to mind are aggressive, like heavy aggro rush decks, and last will decks, obviously. So let's start off with the aggro, why it impacts that aggro. For 2 gold, 4/4 stats are pretty solid. They're pretty nice. And with that, of course, the 3 movement you see as well, you can just run COCKATRICE up and expect to have the opponent forcibly use a lot of resources, or maybe two or 3 at max. I don't know why I said a lot of resources. But they're going to have to use, 1 card too many to take out COCKATRICE, and then meanwhile you've got your still pretty sizable hand ready to throw out the opponent. That's sort of like an early mentality to believe when talking about aggro rush. But the thing about aggro rush is that they rely, or they have to have sort of a stronger hand to be able to do anything, to be able to, be aggro, continuing to throw resources at the opponent's direction. And usually their biggest downside, if any, are using up all their cards, 5, 6 turns into the game. And if the opponent has not fell, the aggro is going to get countered, and they're just going to be swarmed with a bunch of heavy things that their deck is not going to be able to counter. And with COCKATRICE, that sort of changes it up a bit. Not really in a better way, though, for aggro rush. As you can see here, the last will discard a card at random, we've already gone over, is, again, similarly close to Hungering Pumpkin, which is in aggro rush. People who run it like to run Pumpkin for those stats. However, if you have both Pumpkin and COCKATRICE in the deck, you're going to be at a disadvantage. COCKATRICE will be, of course, when he leaves, discarding a card, which sometimes aggro can't afford. If you're playing Pumpkin and COCKATRICE, you've just discarded 2 cards, and you're down to what I imagine to be, no cards in your hand. So, playing this card definitely can hinder them, because if they want to play it, they're going to have to forcibly use up more resources, thereby making sure the castle falls quicker. So it's sort of like a gambling, risky play, per se. Do I play the card to get more aggression, or do I not play it to save up my hand, to use it at maybe an opportune time, maybe when he's my only card in my hand, so I can afford using a card? Because remember, if you discard while you have no cards in your hand, you don't discard anything. So his ability is sort of rendered useless there. But anyway, that's sort of like the mentality of Aggro Rush, how Cockatrice impacts them. You're getting a gamble. You play more aggressively, but you're going to lose more in the end if you don't succeed. That's sort of the brief summary there. And I also said it impacts Last Will. Now, the way it does that, of course, we've seen a lot of Last Will units, and specifically a lot of them having beneficial abilities. Nunchuck Nun comes to mind. Let me just see here. Last Will. It's going to come up with no one, but let me, well, now. Manfish, explode for 1. Sunflower, explode for 3. Add a random card, deal 1 damage to the enemy. Undead 1/1. So it's sort of a bunch of beneficial abilities. Oh, and there's, you know, of course there's more that I just didn't see because I'm clicking on. Yeah, the none I mentioned. So they're all pretty solid and beneficial abilities. With Cockatrice being introduced, you now have an effect that you do not want to trigger. You don't want to just discard a card because you lost a unit. That's not going to help you. So with Cockatrice out, it's a subtle sort of slowdown to Last Will, if they even need it right now, to be honest, because I don't really see them that much. Essentially, if you play the Cockatrice, what's going to be happening is that if you have it on while the opponent's trying to, you know, Arcanon General something, or if even you're trying to Arcanon General something, the Cockatrice is going to forcibly lose you a card. If, you know, played incorrectly. Say if I have a Banshee out in the field and I want to, you know, get a spell with the Arcanon General, but I have Cockatrice on the field. Boom, I've just lost a card maybe because I've triggered Cockatrice's ability instead of Banshee. So it's a subtle sort of way to slow down Last Will decks. And if you're the opponent, you know, you could just play the Cockatrice and boom, now you've just created a situation for the opponent that can't really use Arcanon General, or else they're going to be risking a discard. Of course, depending on how many units and whatnot, that may not be the most probable, but regardless, you kind of see where I'm getting at here. So it's definitely intriguing to see Cockatrice impact 2 different deck styles that, to be honest, aren't too prevalent. Think of that one again. So yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting card though, regardless, and it's a nice sort of concept. It's one of the most unique ones we've seen. Chicken Lizard, definitely unique. But anyway, that's sort of all I have to say on Cockatrice. Again, sort of intriguing to see that we get this card now. I don't know if it's going to affect anything on the ladder. I don't think so. But the 4/4 stats are definitely nice, and it sets itself away from Pumpkin. You know, if you want to play Pumpkin and Cockatrice, that's cool, but that's going to be a lot of discard for you. But I think where it is now, it's a pretty solid. You know, it's a nice card, but overall, I don't know how much it's going to really do for the game. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that. It is available for 2 more days, so by the time this video goes up, it's going to be towards, I guess, the end of Christmas Day, or it might be somewhere in between, late afternoonish. So that's going to be, you know, 2 days from now. Cockatrice is going to disappear. So if you want it, I would recommend trying to fish it for packs, or if you don't want to, that's completely fine. But if you are going to buy the Christmas bundle, you're probably going to have a higher chance of getting this guy because he is going to be around. He's only a rare. It's not like the Necromancer where it was epic and there were, you know, you had to pull a good amount of packs to get the Necromancer. This is a rare. It won't take that many packs to get. I believe I only pulled him out of like what, 7 packs if I remember correctly. Again, 2 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, that's all I have on the Cockatrice. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to hit that like button, share with your friends, and comment down below what you think of Cockatrice. And you know, will you use him? Well, yeah, will you use him? That sounded weird out loud. And if so, tell me why. Why are you running this card? What sort of impact do you think it's going to have, etc. And yeah, there will be another video, I think, later today or tomorrow. Of course, in a little holiday special that, of course, we weren't able to get on Christmas Eve. We'll explain that in the video itself. But until then, guys, stay gaming.